Hello. Get things set up here. Here shortly, I want to add something to the show notes. What the hell? Let's see. What was these first? Alright, get that added to the list. Got that, okay. So I hope everyone's doing well. I just got in the mail a brand new webcam to try out. The company sent me this for free for review. It's an Amcrest *1080p webcam. Very nice. So I'm going to try that out and I'm going to review it for them. Yeah, it's nice. At least I didn't have to pay for it. That's good. I also received in the mail today a new wireless controller for the Switch. Because today I finally sent back my my buggy left Joy-Con back to Nintendo for repair or replacement. They finally gave me the go ahead to go do that. So, of course, sent that back. So now I'm, without left Joy-Con, so really I can't play. I want to play my Animal Crossing, man. I just bought some turnips, I can't let those rot. But so I ordered that. It was a lightning deal last night and got it in just enough time for it to be sent to me today. So, yay! Anyway, we'll get started here in just a couple of minutes. I need to get myself something cool and wet to drink. So, hold up. Etc. It's 90 degrees out. So, let's get going here. My phone on silent. Okay. Got the The only thing is, last night I joined the guys over at Pop Goes the Culture. We live casted the WWE pay-per-view, which was pretty boring, to tell you the truth. They really need to figure something, because this is getting boring. Okay. Everybody happy? Let's get ready to go. Tonight, Star Trek changes its invasion date, Ahmad Best plays Jedi, and we talk with the folks over at Sci-Fi For Me's H2O podcast. All that and more on the Sci-Fi edition of Multiverse tonight. Comic books, sci-fi, fantasy, and more. If you're looking for a roundup of geeky news, you're in the right place. This is Multiverse Tonight. And here's your host, Thomas Townley. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 80 of Multiverse Tonight. I'm your host, Thomas Townley. Wow, 80 episodes. Well, 20 more, and we get the gold star. And I think by episode 100, I should have a new show opening, at least a new logo. I'll work on it. Anyway, the times, they just get weirder and weirder, don't they? We're only halfway through the year, and first we have plague, now we have riots. Please, folks, I think Rodney King said it best during the LA riots. Can't we all just get along? Please? Anyway, since we have a full show today, let's just get on with the news. Starting with Star Trek news. Now, it seems that after decades of not playing Kirk, William Shatner says he would be open to returning to the role, but with some conditions. Now, Bill spoke with Metro UK about Star Trek, and he told them, quote, if they wrote it, if it made reasonable sense, then I'd love to revive Captain Kirk. I wouldn't do a series. If the role was written properly and it wasn't a cameo or gratuitous, being there just to show my face, I wouldn't do that, unquote. Now, he told them that he hasn't been approached by Star Trek Picard, nor has he watched it. So in other words, it sounds like he'd do it if they made a Star Trek Kirk series, or he had some large role in the plot. Frankly, I think we're all fine without him. Please, stay retired, Bill. Just stay retired. You're fine. You have your horses. You're good. Now, one series we won't be seeing any guest stars from any generation, old or not, so old, will be Star Trek Discovery. The series is now in the far too distant future, 32nd century AD. Producer Akiva Goldsman, who worked on seasons 1 and 2 before moving on to Picard and Strange New Worlds, has some ideas about what the post-Federation future might entail. He told Collider, quote, I'm not on Discovery now, I just know things. Now, we all helped build that idea all the way back to Discovery's second season. We all helped build that idea all the way back to season 1. Aaron Harberts and Gretchen Berg, the original showrunners from season 1, that idea dates all the way back to that. I think it's a spectacular idea, which is to go post the timeline we know. I think Alex Kurtzman has really been deeply involved in the building out of what season 3 looks like and what that post-Federation future is. I've seen some of it because we all work together in the same, or we did, place, with lots of Star Trek pictures on the wall and editing bays and things. It seems awesome to me. It's not a final frontier, but it's a new one, unquote. Again, I'm still going to hold judgment on this 32nd century future until I see it. Just please leave us with some hope. Just that. Now, someone who's directed a lot of Star Trek lately, Jonathan Frakes, has confirmed that he will direct an episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, telling Sci-Fi Wire, quote, I've been asked to direct and I'm looking forward to it very much. I've had great experiences with all three of them. Anson and I worked through finding Captain Pike, and Ethan and I worked through finding who Spock was, and the mantle of Spock, in particular, was so complicated and so emotionally taxing and with such huge shoes to fill, and Ethan felt it. Rebecca and I have had a long relationship from back on the Librarians, and we have a fabulous working shorthand. So it will be great getting back to the floor with these three old friends, unquote. Now, of course, we still have no release date for season 1 of Strange New Worlds. Probably, 2021, or you could go back to even 2022. But we look forward to seeing what that is. However, we won't be getting any news from the annual Star Trek Las Vegas convention in Las Vegas, as it's been postponed and moved. According to StarTrek.com, the con will be moving to the Caesars Forum Conference Center, Las Vegas, a brand new $375 million state-of-the-art facility with direct access to the host hotel, the newly renovated Harrah's Las Vegas. The new date will be December 9th to the 13th, 2020, Las Vegas in winter. Now, it's a bit of a step up from Vegas in the August heat. Now, right now, only William Shatner, Kelsey Grammer, and Walter Koenig are confirmed as guests. Now, if you're going, go to the Creation Entertainment website, creationent.com, to find out more about it. And if you do, and if you go and you'd like to file a in-person report, reach out to me. I'll take any report from there I can, you give me. Anyway, let's go on through the Star Wars news. Now, we start Star Wars news with a breaking story. Star Wars Celebration 2020 has been canceled. Instead, The convention will take place in Anaheim on August 18th to the 21st, 2022. So, I guess you'll have to wait to see a Wookiee. Ahmad Best has finally earned his lightsaber. The actor, best known for portraying Jar Jar Binks in the prequel trilogy, will now portray Jedi Master Kelleran Beck in the Jedi Temple Challenge that will debut on StarWarsKids.com. The series is described as, quote, Ahmad Best, known to many fans as Jar Jar Binks from the Star Wars prequels, hosts the show as a new Jedi, Master Kelleran Beck. Best guides players through 3 rounds of trials as they vie to become Jedi Knights and wield the iconic symbol of the Guardians of Peace and Justice, the lightsaber. Accompanying Best is Mary Holland, who voices the wisecracking protocol droid companion 83, and Sam Witwer, who gives a unique voice to the dark side of the Force. Witwer recently reprised his role as the voice of Darth Maul in the critically acclaimed final season of Star Wars, The Clone Wars, unquote. Now, Ahmad himself has posted on Instagram a pic of himself in his Jedi robes with the caption, quote, balance is one of the challenges in Jedi Temple Challenge and something I truly believe in. The inspiration behind the hashtag lightsaber has to do with the balance of peace and justice. I chose hashtag purple because of the balance between red and the blue hashtag kyber crystal. The leather on the hilt is large enough for one hand. I took inspiration from a Filipino martial art that I studied called hashtag eskrima and hashtag mushimoto for a one-handed style of fighting. Hashtag Kelleran Beck is nicknamed hashtag the bladed hand for his effectiveness with the one-handed lightsaber style and the empty hand which yields hashtag the force, simultaneously like another hashtag lightsaber, unquote. Well, I'll hashtag believe it when I hashtag see it. Now, the Baby Yoda merchandising machine has, of course, rolled on. This Christmas, you can expect Christmas decorations, of course, or Life Day decorations, if that's the way you prefer to celebrate it. The Baby Yoda Nutcracker stands at 9.5 inches tall and has a red base with snowflakes on it and a gold nameplate. It's part of the Kurt S. Adler Star Wars collection, which includes a Baby Yoda stocking, a Darth Vader tree skirt, a Sith Trooper Nutcracker, and more. You can pre-order the Nutcracker at Entertainment Earth for $49.99. Star Wars The Mandalorian has added the director of Netflix's Extraction, Sam Hargrave, as a second unit director for the second season of the Disney Plus series. He told Collider that he's confident that Season 2 will top the explosive action of the first season. Well, they do have a lot to live up to. The anthology book, Star Wars From a Certain Point of View, is getting a sequel. The new book is called From a Certain Point of View, The Empire Strikes Back. Here's the blurb, quote, the anthology series From a Certain Point of View is set to return with From a Certain Point of View, The Empire Strikes Back, celebrating 40 years of Episode 5 and arriving November 10th. Like its predecessor, From a Certain Point of View, The Empire Strikes Back will feature 40 stories by 40 authors, reimagining the classic sequel through the eyes of background characters, heroes, villains, droids, and creatures, unquote. Authors that will be a part of this include Tom Engelberger, Sarawat Chada, S.I. Sakarbrati, Mike Chen, Adam Christopher, Zarada Cordova, Delilah Dawson, Tracy Dean, Alexander Freed, Jason Fry, Christy Golden, Rob Hart, E.K. Johnson, Lydia King, Rebecca F. Kwong, Michael Koeg, C.B. Lee, Mackenzie Lee, John Jackson Miller, Michael Morokai, Daniel Jose Older, Mark Oshiro, Amy Ratcliffe, Beth Rivas, Lilium Rivera, Emily Skursky, Karen Strong, Catherine Ann M. Valente, Austin Walker, Martha Wells, Django Wexler, Kirsten White, Gary Witta, Brian N. Williams, Charles Yo, and Jim Zub. Now, that list of authors comes from sci-fi4me.com, who did some snooping on their Twitter and found all the announcements by all these various different authors. And of course, there are a bunch of authors that are not listed there, so I guess we'll find out when we find out. Now, it's also been announced that the authors of this book are foregoing their fees. Instead, it's going to First Book, a nonprofit that provides new books, learning materials, and other supplies to educators and organizations that serve children in need. Del Rey's parent company, Penguin Random House, will donate donate $100,000 to First Books. Disney and Lucasfilm also donate 100,000 children's books valued at $1 million to support the organization. Now, let's go on to the geek news. Now, in geek news tonight, we're going to do something completely different, or something that we haven't done in a long time. We're going to start with an interview with a couple of friends and fellow podcasters, Jason Hunt and Timothy Harvey from Sci-Fi for Me's H2O podcast. Let's start the interview. Oh, Thomas. Thanks, me. Now it's time for an interview. Yeah, I know we haven't had much interviews lately, no Comic Con to speak of, but we must do something to create content here. So today, my guests are the hosts of Sci-Fi for Me's the H2O podcast, Mr. Jason Hunt and Mr. Timothy Harvey.
Oh,
and
Whoa.
They're here for a brand new project over at Sci-Fi for Me. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Yeah, great to be here.
All right. Now, we've had Mr. Hunt, we've had Jason on the show before. So, Timothy, tell me a little bit about yourself.
I'm a big science fiction, fantasy, and horror fan. Always have been since I was a very young child, and my father used to both give me his old pulp novels and sit with me on the weekend, and we would watch the creature feature or the classic science fiction film. And he instilled in me from a very young age a love of fantastic fiction and a love of science. And this turned into a lifelong love of comic books and science fiction novels and horror films. And then, of course, when I moved to Kansas City in 2005, I ended up getting involved with the Kansas City film community, which is how I met Jason. And he had this little project of his, this thing what he was working on. And he said, well, we would have these long conversations about various things in science fiction. Like, why aren't we recording this? Because I was already doing some writing for the website, just reviews and a little bit of commentary every now and again, but mostly reviews. And we would have these like discussions about these TV shows and films and ideas and concepts. It's like, why aren't we recording this? Why aren't we doing something with this? And suddenly we had this little show called H2O, which, with the exception of a small hiatus, has been around for many, many episodes. 200 and what, Jason? What are we at?
200. We just did 227, I think. We started in December of 2012.
And there's a small gap there where we didn't have any show. And there was a even smaller gap where there was just a show that he abandoned me for, so it was just me,
the Tim Harvey show is still a viable idea. I maintain. So,
well, it's the problem with the Tim Harvey show versus the H2O show is that it's a single opinion, and while I happen to, it's my opinion, therefore I think it must have some value. That's the theory of an opinion, right? But at the same time, it's like any single person opinion show. It has the risk of being, that's all you hear. And in those particular days of that particular show, we weren't doing a lot of audience engagement. So there was no one. I wasn't really able to have a discussion with somebody who was listening to the show, and it was just a podcast, really. And that's something that I think that, because we do have the ability to have the engagement with our audience. The Tim Harvey show won't be returning anytime soon.
Now, Jason, I had you way back on episode 16 back in January 2019. Sorry, I haven't had you back since then.
Oh, that's fine.
Nothing,
Everybody's been busy, so
nothing personal. But
It's
what
entirely
have
personal.
now what have you been up to?
as far as the magazine goes, I have been making a lot of coffee. Recruiting as much as far as new contributors for the staff. We've been producing now. We're up to 10 programs on our video channel. So besides H2O, we've got a Doctor Who program. We've got 2 Star Wars shows, 2 Star Trek shows. We've got our weekend news wrap up. We have the cosplay program, my little one-man show on Sunday night. And then we just launched last week a show called Daily Dose of Dog, which is a kind of a meditative relaxation, lets everybody take a break in the middle of the day type of thing. It's a half hour. And I just throw the camera up on the office dogs here while they do their thing and play some relaxing music, and some people seem to like it. But it's been fairly busy because you kind of keep track of everything. We're doing the updates on convention schedule changes and the cancellations. We did C2E2, which was the last event we were actually able to attend before all of this happened. So we're hoping to get back into doing live broadcasts from events as soon as they start opening up events again.
Okay. So tell me more about the new project, the reason for your fundraiser here, Sci-Fi for Me TV, which I am a backer of. I'll admit to that. So
And we do appreciate that.
Yes.
Well, it's been a conversation that we've had since we came back. We took, like Tim says, we took a break in 2018 because the traffic was just not really there. And as we got to examining some of the reasons why, and we came back in January of 2019, and at the time, all of social media was all about video. And as it turns out, advertising agencies were making this shift, and news organizations, everybody was shifting over to video based on false data, inaccurate data. Basically, Facebook had led the charge on this, trying to get more video on their platform. And turns out that a lot of the data that they were using to support this was flawed. And so we had put a lot of concentration on our video content. And as we're going through this, and then you had you had that information come to light. You had the various different adpocalypse events that have come out. You've had, the Project Veritas videos. You've had the censorship questions. You've got the stuff going on with Naughty Dog, the situation with Susie Liu, and just all of these different things. Plus, over the last year and a half, we've had on our channel every week, pretty much, a regular copyright claim on the music we use for our Saturday morning show. It's a company called AdRev, and they have multiple copies of our license to use the music, and they still make these claims. So it's all of these things just start piling on, and we've seen YouTube start to shift their focus to the more corporate media entities. It's almost like they want to become another Netflix. You've got the YouTube Red, you have a priority given to outlets like MSNBC or CNN or ESPN or Jimmy Kimmel and Jimmy Fallon, and all of the corporate stuff that YouTube didn't build its success on. And we've seen conversation in a number of places where the channels are sitting there going, okay, YouTube seems to be abandoning the individual independent creator in favor of the big media giants. And we've experienced some of this ourselves, but I've also run across some information over the weekend that channels that do a mix of live programming and pre-recorded programming also gets suppressed
Mm.
by the YouTube algorithm. So we've got all of these different things that are working against us. The algorithm doesn't let you talk about certain topics. So you can't say certain words. You can't talk about certain people. And channels can't react to other channels. There's all these different rules that are in place and different interpretations of the rules and capricious and inconsistent application of the rules. And we finally got to the point where it was like, we're throwing our hands up thinking, our content is not getting in front of our audience.
Mm-hmm.
Something needs to change. And so this idea of a new Sci-Fi for Me TV grew out of that, where we have more control of our content. We have control of all of our ad revenue instead of YouTube taking half of it. And so the Indiegogo campaign is to raise money to build the architecture for that. So sci-fi for me.tv will be the new landing page. And that'll be where we stream all of our content. If we've got any kind of pre-produced stuff, that it's going to go, it'll go there instead of YouTube.
All right. And what qualities are you going to have with the programs and things that you want for Sci-Fi for Me TV?
You mean in terms of the new programs?
Yeah. What kind of programs do you envision for this endeavor?
Many
yeah.
programs. There's a whole bunch of things. Well, one thing I wanted to do, and this has been a long-running discussion, is have a classic video library.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of, and this is something that, folks, if you're ever interested in taking advantage of this, it's out there in the world. There's a lot of films that are basically copyright free. They're not owned by anybody right now. And you can license them for reasonable fees from the folks who compile this sort of stuff. And there's a lot of great, fantastic science fiction and a lot of classic horror content. You're really kind of surprised to see how many things were there. But having that out there that people can actually see this, because there's so much stuff that people just don't know that they can watch. That they've never been exposed to. I mean, everybody loves an Avengers movie, but there's so much great stuff from the 1930s and 40s, the old serials, the old classic films like The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, which is incredibly influential to science fiction and horror and filmmaking in general. I mean, this, it's a classic silent movie, but it's had an incredible impact. Metropolis, Fritz Lang's masterpiece. I mean, all this stuff is out there. And having a chance to bring that to people in a way where they not only can go and find, interviews and articles and reviews, but also sit there and go, here's this amazing film, which, influenced everyone, up to, whichever filmmaker you're following right now. Trust me, they were influenced by these movies. And so there's things like that. There's a whole slate of programming Jason has developed that he would love to sit there and go, and all of this.
Well, when we came back, one of the things that I did as part of the research and the prep, I just started brainstorming, just making a bunch of notes of all of the different things that we could do, not just with the TV channel side of things, but the .com and all the social media and marketing and everything. And I had 30 pages of notes, and at least a page and a half, 2 pages are dedicated to new programs or ideas for programs. So besides the 10 that we've got in production now, we have all sorts of different ways that we could expand that programming. And of course, a lot of that's going to depend on manpower and resources and, who's going to make these, who's going to host them, who's going to produce them. But, we have ideas for comic book focused shows and horror and anime and all of these different ideas for different programs, both on the side of the news and information programming as well as opinion and commentary. But also, there's nothing that says that we couldn't get into scripted narrative stuff at some point. We have relationships with a number of different filmmakers and the acting community and the film community here in Kansas City. There's nothing that says that we couldn't do Sci-Fi for Me original movies or TV series or anything like that. I mean, with us having full control over the channel, really there are no limitations outside of the resources that we have available to us in terms of money, manpower, time, that kind of thing.
I could see it now. The sci-fi from the original movie. What's in Jason's basement?
Actually,
Now,
we are legally obligated to not tell you what's in Jason's basement. I've signed a non-disclosure agreement, and to be honest, you don't want to know.
Well, and Tim talks about, things that are in the public domain. One of the
Mhm.
one of the short films that he and I put together was an adaptation of the Statement of Randolph Carter by H.P. Lovecraft. And those kind of things, whether it's short films or you do the longer feature length, you could adapt those stories. You could do a lot of original programming that's based off of material that's in the public domain. Not only that, but you could do, like Tim was saying, we do movie night. You could do those showcases where you could have the little wraparound bookends like Mankiewicz does for TMC, and says, well, here's some trivia about this movie. Now let's watch the movie. And then he comes back and here's some more trivia about this movie. And thanks for watching. We could do those kind of things. It basically just requires that we have money.
Yeah.
So that's the start of this. This is the starting point for all of that.
All right. So let's kind of get into brass tacks here. There's nothing given without something given back usually. So
Right.
what are the benefits that the person who is going to give to this fundraiser is going to get?
Well, the overall, and that was one of the things that we had kicked around for a long time, because this is not your typical Indiegogo campaign. This is not a graphic novel. It's not a comic book. It's not a game. So there's actually not a physical product that comes with the transaction. So we had to get a little creative on the perks, because the end result product is something that we're already doing. We're already making these shows. We already have the channel in place. But this just gives us another way to do it. So we had to come up with different ideas for this. So the very basic level is the $3, what we call the sticker shock level. Everybody who contributes is going to get their name on a page on our website that says these people supported our project. And then at the $3 level, there's a vinyl sticker that you can put wherever you want to put it on your tablet or your suitcase or wherever. At the $20 level, you have early access to programming, and that can range from being able to watch behind the scenes as we shoot a show, or seeing some different behind the scenes segments that we put together, or advanced Q&A, or you get to see the show prior to anybody else getting to see it, that sort of thing. At the $30 level, we have the mug, which has our branding on it, and all of these levels are cumulative. So you get the mug, you also get the sticker, and you also get the early access. At the $50 level, you've got the t-shirt. And then we have two what we call producer level tiers. And what this does is it gives people a way to be a part of making our programs. So they'll get a producer credit, either associate producer or producer, depending on the level. And that gives them a credit on select numbers of our shows for a select period of time. And they also get some ability to have a say in some of the topics we talk about. So, we for instance, for H2O podcast, we'll put together a list. Here are some different things that we're going to be that we're thinking about talking about, and they'll get to help us narrow it down and suggest topics and tell us some different things that they're interested in hearing us discuss.
Let me jump in there. One of the things that's important about that is that the whole name of here, Sci-Fi for Me, is about science fiction for everybody, right? So it's the idea that the me is you, and so it's all about our fandom and our relation, our shows and all the stuff together. It's a conversation. It's supposed to be a conversation, and things like H2O gives Jason and I a chance to have that conversation in real time. But it's a way for the folks who are involved with reading our site and interacting with us here through the internet, to have that kind of influence with us, and to be able to have that. It's another way of having that conversation. It's a way for the supporters to have an H2O type conversation with us as a production team, as folks who are producing this site.
Right.
It's obviously not quite the same, because oftentimes Jason and I are sitting in the same room having that conversation. That's a different tier level where you get to actually come over, but we haven't worked that one
travel
out
and
yet.
accommodations are all on you.
Exactly. But not to saying that for a reasonable sum of money, I could be a new tier, Jason.
Well, and I was looking at, because I've been talking to the people who are going to be doing our mugs, and we have been talking about a Yeti with our branding on it, and so that's a possible tier that could be coming. I've also got one that we're going to be announcing here soon that is going to be at a higher, probably at a $200 level. That is going to be a little bit different than what you would normally expect, but I think people will get a kick out of it. So
okay. Well, so when does the fundraiser end?
Well, as of today, we're recording on Sunday the 7th. There's 25 days left, and we are currently sitting at 8% of our goal. And according to the trend, right now at this juncture, it's projecting that we will only make 35% of our goal at our current rate of support. So
come on, people, give till it hurts, or give till you hurt someone else, I guess. Now, tell me about now let's end this with a little, how's the where am I going with this? The H2O podcast. Where do you go from here?
All over.
Well, that actually leads to one of the things that we've been really, really good at doing prior to the pandemic, obviously, and a lot of the cons going away. And one of the things that we pioneered that other people are doing now is actually going out to cons and doing live streaming from conventions. We did that from Worldcon, and everyone sat there and went, "This is amazing." We said, "We know. Give us some money so we can do more of it." But being able to take what we're doing and going to other places, I'd love to do H2O. Well, we did H2O from Worldcon. To be able to do H2O from around the country and bring some of this stuff into the homes and to the eyes of a lot of fans who can't afford to go to a lot of these places, and can be able to connect them with the creators and the talent who makes the programming they love so much, whether it's books or comics or film and television, and make that conversation bigger. It's great that Jason and I can have those conversations one-on-one with each other. It's always great when we can bring other people into it and make it a bigger conversation. We don't do a lot of roundtable programming right now, but we have in the past, and it's something we like to do more of, because it's great when Jason and I can talk, and because we love some of the same things, and we love things that are different. So we come from different viewpoints on a lot of things, which makes the conversation interesting. But it's always better when you can make that conversation broader, because different viewpoints.
Yeah, and we have a number of shows that we've got planned that are in that roundtable format, whether it's talking about the general news of the week or specific things, as far as like Star Wars or Star Trek or Doctor Who or Battlestar Galactica or comic books or anything like that. So there's a lot of potential for the programming. And like Tim says, we want to get out into the live event space again as soon as we can, as often as we can. And so, part of that is going to be, making those connections with those event organizers. And now that they understand there's value to the virtual streams, the live streams, capitalizing on that in a way that benefits both parties.
All right. And when and where can they find the H2O podcast?
Live Monday nights at 8 p.m. Central is when the H2O podcast runs. And then we have the rest of the programming is pretty much all week, various different episodes for the different shows.
All right. Timothy Harvey, Jason Hunt, I wish you the best of luck, and I'll see you around the galaxy.
I appreciate it. Thanks for the time.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right. Now back to me. All right. Thanks, me. Again, go to sci-fi4me.tv to contribute to their Indiegogo campaign. Right now, that campaign is at $779, which is about 15% of the $5,000 that they're looking for. And you have, as of this recording on Monday the 15th, 17 days left to give them a hand. So go on over there and, throw a few shekels their way. Thank you. Thank Jason Hunt and Timothy Harvey again for for their time. Now, let's get on with some more news here. The cinematographer for Denis Villeneuve's production of Dune is comparing the new production of Dune to Star Wars The Mandalorian. Director of photography Greg Fraser, who has also worked on Rogue One and The Mandalorian, told Collider how Dune compares to Star Wars, saying, quote, "It was quite fun because I had to forget a lot of Star Wars when I was making Dune. It wasn't hard, though. Dennis and I spoke clearly about how the film should look and should feel and the formats and this and that, so it was not hard to swerve and change lanes. There were some similarities, like deserts. I mean, listen, ultimately, I'm positive George Lucas was inspired by Dune when he made Star Wars. I don't know if that's sacrilegious to talk about, but there are a lot of similarities in some areas, so you could tell he was definitely influenced by that, so I had to be careful doing both Dune and The Mandalorian, and not to repeat myself. Also, not just for the sake of the movie, but for fun. I hate to do the same thing twice," unquote. Now, Dune stars Timothée Chalamet, Rebecca Ferguson, Oscar Isaac, Josh Brolin, Stellan Skarsgård, Jason Momoa, Zendaya, Javier Bardem, and Charlotte Rampling. It all opens in theaters on December 19th. Now, Roland Emmerich, we're going to talk about a disaster, of course. Roland Emmerich is bringing another disaster film to theaters, Moonfall. Moonfall sees the moon on a collision course with Earth after an unknown force knocks the moon out of orbit. With weeks to impact, a team embarks on a do-or-die mission to land on the moon and save the human race. Patrick Wilson will play a former astronaut whose career ended in disgrace when his last mission ended in tragedy, but holds a clue to the disaster. Charlie Plummer plays his son, and Halle Berry plays Patrick's former coworker. The movie also features Josh Gad as the person who figures out that the moon is out of orbit. Lionsgate hopes to release the film in 2021. The Peabody Award winners have been announced. 30 programs that have been selected are, quote, "the most compelling and empowering stories released in broadcasting and digital media during 2019. Here are this year's 30 Peabody Award winners." Say that 3 times fast. For entertainment, Chernobyl, David McMahon from the Oprah Winfrey Network, Dickinson from Apple TV, Fleabag from Prime Video, Raimi from Hulu, Stranger Things, of course, on Netflix, and Succession on HBO, Unbelievable on Netflix, Watchmen from HBO, When They See Us on Netflix, and documentaries, Apollo 11 from CNN, For Sama from PBS, Independent Lens, Halley County This Morning, This Evening from PBS, POV, Inventing Tomorrow from PBS, POV, Midnight Traveler from PBS, POV, The Distant Barking of Dogs from PBS, POV, The Silence of Others from PBS, Surviving R. Kelly from Lifetime, The Edge of Democracy from Netflix, True Justice, Brian Stevenson's Fight for Equality from HBO, and podcast and radio winners, Dolly Parton's America from WNYC, Have You Heard George's Podcast from BBC Sounds, In the Dark, The Path Home from APM Reports, and Threshold, The Refuge from Our Cool Productions. News winners, Different Kind of Force, Policing Mental Illness from NBC, American Trail from NBC, Long Island Divided from Newsday, The Hidden Workforce, Undocumented America from CNN, Unwarranted from WBBM TV, and in Children's and Youth, Molly of Denali from WGBH, and those are all the winners. Congratulations to those Peabody Award winners. What We Do in the Shadows will have to do season 3 without writer and actor Jermaine Clement. Clement told Entertainment Weekly, quote, "The writers will have to figure out that one out, the cliffhanger finale, because I won't be in the writer's room next year. I'm leaving them with this big problem to work out. I think it's a good idea to end on a big cliffhanger. We did the same last season. Now they can figure out how to get out of this big mess," unquote. And don't expect him to appear next season. He said, quote, "You can't expect that," unquote. Now, he went on to say that he wasn't even going to do the appearance this year until the day before, because he had trouble getting anyone in on time. He said, quote, "We were hoping we'd get someone who has played a vampire before, like in The Trial last season with the Vampire Council, but we didn't have enough time. So I happened to be in Toronto where we shoot the show, so I put my wig on again, but it wasn't planned," unquote. Now, more movie shifting news. Warner Brothers has announced that Godzilla vs. Kong will be moving from this Thanksgiving to May 21st, 2021. This in turn is causing The Matrix 4 to be moved from May 21st, 2021 to April Fool's Day, 2022. The Witches remake has also been just delisted. It's not even on the schedule anymore. And the Tom and Jerry live-action movie is going from December 23rd, 2020 to May 21st, 2021. And finally, the next James Bond movie, No Time to Die, has actually been moved up by 5 days to November 20th, 2020. Mad Magazine's legendary artist Al Jaffe has announced his retirement at the ripe old age of 99 after a 56-year career. This officially makes him the longest working comic artist in history. So, to mark his farewell, Mad Magazine will salute Jaffe with a special tribute issue, one of the last to feature new material. It will include Al's final fold-in, 65 years after he first made his Mad Magazine debut. Congratulations, Al. Enjoy your retirement, no matter what length it may be. Tonight, we say goodbye to actor Anthony James. Mr. James was a prolific actor, known for his tall, lanky appearance and his pockmarked face. He had an intense screen presence. He was born on July 2nd, 1942, as James Anthony, moved to LA when he was 18, and made his first on-screen appearance in an episode of the 1966 NBC series The Cat. He has appeared in episodes of The Big Valley, Gunsmoke, Bonanza, Hawaii Five-0, The Mod Squad, Police Story, Charlie's Angels, Starsky and Hutch, Buck Rogers in the 25th Century, Knight Rider, V, Riptide, The A-Team, and many, many more. He will be known to Star Trek fans for his guest appearance in the first season episode The Neutral Zone as Sub-Commander Thay. He also appeared in the movies Naked Gun 2.5, The Smell of Fear, and Unforgiven. He passed away at the age of 77 after a battle with cancer. And that will bring us to the end of the sci-fi news. Now, if you're out on social media, be sure to check us out there. We're at Twitter, at MultiverseTom. We're also on Facebook and Instagram as well. And if you'd like to contribute some money, please visit mtpodcast.com to go to our Coffee, Patreon, and Glow.fm links, as well as go over to Multiverse Tonight and hit that support me link at the top of the page, and also check out the affiliate marketplace links, the link to the TeePublic store, with now with masks, show notes, and so much more. And if you're a subscriber, be sure to share us with your friends, and if you're brand new to the show, please be sure to subscribe, and if you want, leave some feedback. Let us know how we're doing. Now, special thanks to Shane Ivers for the intro music and Lobo Loco for the outro theme music. Thanks for watching the sci-fi edition of Multiverse Tonight. We'll be back in 2 weeks with the new sci-fi edition, and in just a couple days with the new comic book edition. Now, please, exit the universe in an orderly fashion. Good night. Multiverse Tonight is a production of Half Baked Genre Productions. Copyright 2020. All rights reserved. Alright, now to get ready for the comic edition. I don't think it'll be as long, but it will be a little bit sadder. And there was a big loss in the comic book community this past week, so I'll have a good remembrance here. Let me go switch my mini deck around. Alright. 1, 2, this is how we do. Tonight, DC drops Diamond, Marvel has issues with a Chinese trademark, and remember one of the greats, Denny O'Neil. All that and more on this edition of Multiverse Tonight. Comic books, sci-fi, fantasy, and more. If you're looking for a roundup of geeky news, you're in the right place. This is Multiverse Tonight. And here's your host, Thomas Townley. Hello everyone and welcome to episode 81 of Multiverse Tonight, the comic book edition. Now, it seems that, the world is opening up and the news floodgates have started to open, and boy, is there controversy. There are even some people out there who think that AT&T might be getting ready to cut DC Comics loose. Now, this comes after AT&T is looking for a buyer for Warner Brothers games. My guess would, of course, be no. The intellectual property is worth too much. While we're not, but you never know. AT&T, they're a superstitious and cowardly lot. But while we're speaking of DC, let's go ahead and start with the DC news. DC has had a busy couple of weeks, starting with Batwoman and going on to our first story. DC Comics has ended its 25-year distribution relationship with Diamond, the largest distributor in comics. During the pandemic, Diamond Distribution was forced to briefly shut down, so DC decided to use alternate distributors, Lunar Distribution, which is owned by DCBS, and UCS Comic Distributors, which is owned by New York City's Midtown Comics. DC will also use Penguin Random House for distribution help as well. Now, a representative told comicbook.com in a statement, quote, "After 25 years, DC and Diamond Comic Distributors are ending their long-standing relationship. Moving forward, comic book retailers can obtain their DC books from Penguin Random House or their books and periodicals through Lunar or UCS Comic Book Distributors. DC continues to be committed to providing the direct market with best-in-class service and the fans with the world's greatest comic books," unquote. Now, the hows haven't been announced yet, but most likely Penguin would distribute the graphic novels and collected editions, with USC and Lunar distributing, the single issues. Now, some retailers have reacted, frankly, rather badly to this news, and I can see it from both sides. One, this is a breakup of a monopoly, but on the other hand, this also makes it harder for comic book companies, comic book distributors, comic book stores. That's what I'm trying to say, out there. So yeah, this could be a good thing. This could be a bad thing, but it's too early to to say yet, but we'll keep an eye on it. And hopefully, when we finally get back to conventions, we'll have words with comic book stores and see how things have been going. But in some news that just broke yesterday, DC and Diamond have extended their agreement to fulfill orders of in-stock comic periodicals previously offered for sale, fulfilling those reorders through July 31st. This extension would mean that local comic shops can order back issues of any DC comic released before June 21st through Diamond at least through the end of July. Order fulfillment will depend on whether Diamond has copies available. Additionally, when it comes to graphic novels or collections, retailers will be able to order books that were offered through Diamond for a final order cutoff of June 1st or before through mid-December of this year. For shops serviced by Diamond UK, orders for new and backlist DC offerings can be ordered through the end of 2020. So, again, it's what it is. So, we'll see how this affects comic book shops and the industry at large. Now, the other big news is that there's going to be a new Batwoman in town, as the showrunners for the hit show on the CW have decided not to recast the role of Kate Kane, but instead create a brand new character. A casting notice was discovered by fans on Reddit, but was quickly pulled down. Now, according to the casting call, the character of Ryan Wilder, quote, is about to become Batwoman. She's likable, messy, a little goofy and untamed. She's also nothing like Kate Kane, the woman who wore the Batsuit before her. With no one in her life to keep her on track, Ryan spent years as a drug runner dodging the GCPD and masking her pain with bad habits. A girl who would steal milk for an alley cat could also kill you with her bare hands. Ryan is the most dangerous type of fighter, highly skilled and wildly undisciplined, an out lesbian, athletic, raw, passionate, fallible, and very much not your stereotypical all-American hero, unquote. Now, however, that of course doesn't mean the character of Kate Kane is dead. Showrunner Carolyn Dries said in a statement, quote, as a lesbian who's been working as a writer for the past 15 years, I'm well aware of the bury your gays trope, and I have no interest in participating in it. That's why it's important to me as the showrunner to clarify any misinformation out there about Kate Kane and recasting Batwoman. Like you, I love Kate Kane. She's the reason I wanted to do the show. We'll never erase her. In fact, her disappearance will be one of the mysteries of Season 2. I don't want to give away any of our surprises, but to all our devoted fans, please know that LGBTQ plus justice is at the very core of what Batwoman is, and we have no intention of abandoning that, unquote. So there you have it, folks. I guess we'll get more information as more is revealed. Now, by the way, just an observation. Wonder Woman 1984 would have been in theaters right now. And if you go to the chip aisle of any store, you'll be able to see that, as there's Lay's potato chips with Wonder Woman's picture on it. Now, it's very interesting. As I said, a lot of merchandising out there, but the movie isn't going to be out for a long time. In fact, it's been pushed back to October 2nd. So, buy the chips now, see the movie later. Superman will be getting a brand new villain in September's Superman issue 25. Sinmar is a warrior created to be the standard bearer for an alien race from the deep in outer space. Here's the blurb from DC. Quote, a colossal new threat to Superman, the planet Earth, and the DC Universe arrives on the scene in this extra-sized anniversary issue. This unique warrior, called the Sinmar, was created to represent an entire alien race. He's trained his entire life, but for what purpose? As the antithesis of everything Superman stands for, Sinmar launches his aggression towards Earth to destroy the Man of Steel and every being on the planet. This is what Superman was born to protect us from, unquote. Sounds interesting. Doesn't sound, quite doomsday level, but I guess we'll have to, see how Superman handles that. Now, let's go to the Marvel news. Marvel has a dispute on hand The WandaVision trademark has been challenged by Wanda Group, a Hong Kong-based company. Wanda Group, according to Wikipedia, is a Chinese multinational conglomerate based in Beijing. It is a private property developer and owner of Wanda Cinemas and the Hoyts Group, as well as a majority shareholder of AMC Theaters. Now, it would be unclear how WandaVision, the Marvel show, could be confused with Wanda Group, the company, but, I guess this is a matter for the courts, so watch this space. And while we wait, maybe it's time to start filming again. Paul Bettany, the actor who plays Vision in the show, has canceled a convention appearance at the Tampa Bay Comic-Con. The Facebook post for the cancellation says, quote, "We finally received word from Paul Bettany's representation, and unfortunately Paul had to cancel his appearance at TBCC this year due to being called back by Disney for WandaVision filming in July in Los Angeles. We're working on guest editions," unquote. So it sounds like a good chance. Rumors are also abounding that the Falcon and the Winter Soldier might also be picking up on filming soon as well. The Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse sequel has begun production. Lead animator Nick Kondo shared the teaser trailer on Twitter with the post, quote, "First day on the job," unquote. However, it's a long ways off. It won't be in theaters until 2022. And while we're waiting for 2022, let's go ahead to 2021, which will be a big year for Sony with lots of movies banked up because of the coronavirus. Sony revealed that Uncharted, Ghostbusters Afterlife, and Morbius will be made available in IMAX next year. Now, absent was... Hold on, folks. Let me try that again. I messed up this announcement. While we're waiting for 2022, 2021 will be a big year for Sony with lots of movies banked up because of the coronavirus. Sony this almost makes no sense. Okay. While we're waiting for 2022, 2021 will be a big year for Sony with lots of movies banked up because of the coronavirus. Sony has revealed that Uncharted, Ghostbusters Afterlife, and Morbius will be made available in IMAX next year. Now, let's go on to the geek news. The Eisner Award nominations have been announced. IDW and Image lead the way with 13 nominations for IDW and 11 for Image. The awards are normally handed out at the San Diego Comic-Con. However, that's not going to happen with the con canceled this year. However, the organizers have announced that the results will be revealed sometime in July. Now, the full list of nominees are available in the show notes. Speaking of San Diego Comic-Con, even though it's not on this year, they're going to have a virtual version with Comic-Con at Home being on Wednesday, July 22nd and running to the 26th. It will include panels, giveaways, news, and more. You'll be able to print your own con badge. Best of all, it's completely free. In a statement, San Diego Comic-Con spokesman David Glanzer said, quote, "For the first time in our 50-year history, we are happy to welcome virtually anyone from around the globe. Though stay-at-home conditions makes this a very difficult time, we see this as an opportunity to spread some joy and strengthen our sense of community," unquote. Now, I'm guessing this will still not be a good excuse not to go to work. Sorry, folks. Disney is moving another movie straight to Disney Plus instead of theaters. The one and only Ivan is based on a 2012 children's book by K.A. Applegate. The film mixes live action and CGI to tell the story of Ivan, a 400-pound gorilla played by Sam Rockwell, who lives in an enclosure in a suburban mall with Stella the elephant, played by Angelina Jolie, and Bob the dog, played by Danny DeVito. Ivan starts to remember his life in the jungle when a new baby elephant named Ruby arrives, played by Brooklyn Prince. Now, this movie will come to Disney Plus on August 21st. Genius Brands International has named former CEO of the Fox Kids Networks, Margaret Loesch, as executive chair of its new online ad-supported streaming service, Cartoon Channel, which will launch this week. The Cartoon Channel, that's Cartoon with a K, will offer over 4,000 episodes of content from Genius Brands' catalog, including Warren Buffett's Secret Millionaires Club, Thomas Edison's Secret Lab, Baby Genius, Martha Stewart and Friends, Stan Lee's Mighty Seven, Giselle Bundchen's Giselle and the Green Team, Gummy Bears, Shark Academy, The Jammies, Amber the Ambulance, Dino the Dinosaur, Ethan the Dump Truck, Increditales, Onesies, and Super Geek Heroes. The streaming service is aimed at kids 2 to 11 and should be carried on all platforms. Yeah, I've never heard of those. Maybe you have. I don't know. But I guess, if you got kids, plunk them down in front of that. Now, in an attempt to help draw customers back to comic book shops and maybe mitigate some of the financial hardships caused by the coronavirus pandemic, Aftershock Comics is putting out a special 48-page anthology comic, Support Our Shops, SOS. The comic will be provided free to stores and will showcase works from such writers as Zach Thompson, Jamie McKelvey, Jerry Ordway, Colin Bunn, and Aaron Douglas, and with artists Gordon Purcell, Leela Lees, Simon Kundersky, Rose Stein, and Ted Brandt, Kellen Richards, and Don Kramer, with cover art by David Mack. Now, publisher Joe Pruitt has, in a statement, said, quote, This book celebrates the central and critical role that comic shops have always played in fostering a love of the medium among fans, many of whom have gone on to become creators in their own right. It may be a drop in the bucket, but it's a hell of a drop in the bucket. These are heartfelt stories created by creators with deep, lasting connections to the comic shops of yesterday, today, and we have no doubt tomorrow, unquote. Now, comic book stores that rank among Diamond's top 200 Aftershock accounts will receive 20 copies of SOS per storefront with June 24th orders. 10 free copies will go to the next 300 stores in any rankings, and any stores that are not among the rankings can still request copies of SOS. The aim is for comic book store owners to either give away the copies or sell them at a suggested price to make up for recent losses. Well, good luck. Now, tonight we say goodbye and thank you to Denny O'Neil. Now, Denny is legendary, and some would say that he was as important to DC Comics as Stan Lee was to Marvel. He not only shaped Batman from the 70s to the 90s as the Batman Group editor, he, along with Neil Adams, shaped Green Lantern and Green Arrow, using the characters to tackle racism, poverty, and a variety of subjects. Denny was born in May of 1939 and got started in comics as Stan Lee's assistant in the 1960s. He would later that decade start writing for Charlton Comics, with occasional work for DC and Marvel. In the 70s, he and Adams were tasked with bringing the Dark Knight out of the campiness that the 60s Batman TV show had led it into. The duo brought Batman back to the original that Bill Finger and Bob Kane created, leaning into the dark, gothic, and mysterious elements of Batman in Gotham City. Their work is still with us today in every modern Batman movie. Now, his work on the Green Lantern and Green Arrow series put Hal Jordan in the role of Cosmic Cop to Oliver Queen's Protester, both spending time showing each that the world was not just black and white, but shades of gray. He also did runs of Superman, Green Lantern, The Flash, Wonder Woman, and The Question, and also wrote episodes of Batman the Animated Series, G.I. Joe, Logan's Run, and Superboy. Later, Denny would co-create Azrael with Joe Quesada. He also created Ra's al Ghul and his daughter Talia, Leslie Tompkins, and Richard Dragon, and would lead Batman through Nightfall. He even wrote the novelization, which I happen to own a copy, and it's a well-read copy, I might add. He called Nightfall one of the more interesting experiences of his life. He did some work outside of DC and Marvel. His graphic novel of The Shadow, 1941, for Dynamite was so great, his friend and colleague Rick Stacy said, quote, I couldn't pick just one aspect of Denny's contributions. His shadow was phenomenal work. No one handled the shadow like Denny, unquote. He also wrote novellas that have been published in Ellery Queen's Mystery Magazine, fantasy and science fiction, unknown worlds of science fiction, and fantastic stories. Denny never lost his love of comics, and he wrote the DC Guide to Writing Comics and taught a comics writing course at Manhattan School of Visual Arts. He is also a multiple award winner, winning multiple Shazam Awards, several Goth Awards, and a two-time Inkpot Award winner. Denny O'Neil, died on June 11th from natural causes. He was 81 years old. His final work will be in the Joker 80th anniversary special. And that brings us to the end of the comic book news. Now, be sure to check us out on social media. We're at Twitter at Multiverse Tom. We're also on Facebook and Instagram as well. And if you'd like to contribute some money, please visit MT Podcast or go to Multiverse Tonight and hit the Support Me link to go to the Coffee, Patreon, and Glow.fm links. And while you're on MultiverseTonight.com, please visit the affiliate marketplace links, the link to the TeePublic store, our show notes, and so much more. And if you're a subscriber, be sure to share us with your friends. And if you're brand new to the show, please be sure to subscribe. And, if you want, leave some feedback. Let us know how we're doing. Now, special thanks to Shane Ivers for our intro music and Lobo Loco for the outro music. Now, we'll be back with the brand new sci-fi edition in 2 weeks and a brand new comic book edition as well. Now, please exit the universe in an orderly fashion. Good night. Multiverse Tonight is a production of Half-Baked Genre Productions, copyright 2020. All rights reserved. That does it for today. Now I gotta get down to editing the show. So have a good rest of your day, and please go over to sci-fi4me.tv and check it out and throw a few shekels their way if you feel like it. And